Hi, you guys. It's the middle of the night, and I wanted to talk to you guys about the importance of finding the balance between the physical, the spiritual, and all realms in between. Um, I really want to talk about being present and being in the moment, even when you're doing spiritual work, even when you're tapping into other realms and other dimensions, the importance of being present when you leave yourself. A lot of us do things on autopilot, and in my Pluto retrograde part 1 video, part 2 is coming up too soon. I haven't recorded that one yet, but I will. But I kind of left it off on talking about the importance of being in the moment and in like making sure that you are present, because sometimes, like, especially when we look at stuff like our phones or TVs or things that distract us, things that come from different screens, portals, if you will. In some ways, they're very hypnotizing. They're like looking through the looking glass into another realm, another plane of existence. And like I feel that a lot of times people have to be reminded that social media, movies, TV shows, even books, things of the sort are conjured up thoughts that other people are playing out that are not necessarily reality. But because it becomes so normal for us to incorporate those types of things into our lives, that it becomes almost second nature to kind of overinvest and get caught up into these things. Like even when we're talking about books and we're talking about movies and TV shows, we immortalize these characters. We create the dimensions of their personality. We do things like create fan fiction. We're the ones who talk about these characters in depth as though they are real living people, to the effect that we can even channel the energy of this conjured up being and elevate them to being spiritual entities by that. Um, and with that being what it is, these illusions that we see that are casted by real people to look a certain way on your phone or on your computer screen or your tablet or your television screen. We make falsifications and illusions become real. And that's what Pluto retrograde in my 12th house had done for me, to realize the falsehoods that we are under. And it caused me to have a lot of thoughts, especially like when I think about just how much we will put and invest into upgrading this portal, these handheld dimensions, if you will, these gadgets, that they are good for connecting us with other people, but at the same time they distance us so much, that we literally create avatars and sims and falsehoods of life in another world. We literally will let our real lives slip away while we amplify this virtual life that we give ourselves. Um, in a lot of ways, we play God on social media. And it's unhealthy. It's an addiction. It's a point to where you have to learn how to get out of it. You have to learn how to unplug. You have to learn how to get yourself away from it and not become consumed and addicted to it. And I know this for a personal experience that there's been plenty of times in my life where the first thing I reach is my phone and I want to see who texted me, who called me, what's my Instagram comments, and what is my Facebook interaction looking like. And I know that it's a lot of people who have an unhealthy relationship with social media. And I mean, you can develop an unhealthy relationship with literally anything. So, my issue is that a lot of times we, instead of living the life that we should, instead of taking the steps that we should, we literally will sit into a portal and talk about what we want to do or watch other people do what we want to do. And in some ways, even allow them, to re- receive and achieve certain levels of financial success and gain by us watching them live the lives that we really want to live. Like, how many of you guys watch the Travel Channel and you have never even bought a passport? You've never even left the country. Like, how many of you watch other people on YouTube and watch their blogs instead of actually doing those things that you want to do? How many of you sit and watch other people live their lives online and wish that that could be you, but instead you keep investing in a new phone, in a new TV, and new gadgets that continue to you looking at people doing these things online or watch their pictures or their videos or read their articles instead of actually participating in life yourself? You know, my thing is, I know that a lot of people in this world don't have the answers that they want. We're given life and we're not given a manual. We are not really told how to live or what to do. It's really, at the end of the day, about choices. And then the truth of the matter is, the reason why is because if we are all fragments of God, if we all come from one source, if our souls come from a more evolved place and we're all connected and we're all our own versions of God and we all have the ability to create, whether that be in my eggs or your sperm cells, if we can create a life force, a being, a living being, you don't think that we can create the life that we want to live? But somehow, some way, we put all that down and put it onto the internet and it dissolves from our reality. How many of you talk about what you want to do on social media but never do it? I feel that it's important for us to become in tune with our bodies again, and that includes fasting. For me, I know I felt the most in tune with my body when I fasted and I had nothing but water for 2 weeks. I did not eat food at all, did not chew a damn thing. I didn't have no juice, I didn't have no soda, I didn't have I didn't have anything at all but water and marijuana. I smoked for 2 weeks, and um, I was in somewhat isolation. I was in um, meditation very long. I was praying. I became in tune with everything. I felt everything in my body. I felt my blood vessels. I felt blood rush. in my body. I felt my heartbeat. I felt my stomach. I felt everything in myself. My thoughts were clearer, more vivid. I heard my ancestors speak to me. And in that time frame, when I really fasted food wise, I also fasted from social media. I fasted from certain music that I listened to and shows that I may have watched, or even movies. I fasted from certain conversations with people and even certain people in general. I literally removed the excess sludge out of my life. Okay. And I had been the most in tune with myself I had ever been in my life. And there would be times from that point that I would fast time and time again. And I feel that sometimes we have to consider the diet, and not just the foods that we eat, but the things that we consume, whether that be the things that we wish to purchase, whether that be the music we listen to, or the shows we watch, or the things that we spend our time on. Sometimes that includes our friends, sometimes that includes going out, sometimes that includes whatever um, you really need to revamp in your life and restructure. It may take time for you to let certain things go so that way you can build again, and neatly put your life back together. Um, I mention this because I am going to be fasting again, especially with certain things that I wish to manifest in life. Fasting is one of the ways that I help myself with getting in tune with my manifestations and any type of spiritual work. It's just an amazing time to not only connect with myself, but also connect with my spiritual self and just be more in tune with the spiritual world. But I just feel that it is important to unplug from social media. Social media can increase your depression. It can make you feel like you need to compare yourselves to others because that's all you're seeing is the version of their life that they want you to see. The best pictures that they can take, whether that be through filter, Photoshop, or angles, you know, the best makeup that they can wear, the best hairstyle, the best outfit that they may have, their car is clean that day, they just got paid, they something in their life may be going right for them at that time. And that's not to say that I'm expecting so many people to be truly and secretly struggling. That's not it. But we all kind of go through trials and tribulations in life. We all take um, time in life to grow and to fix certain issues that we have to work on in life. So, that may be the highlight of their life, but they may be experiencing some other things that um, they're not sharing with you. No one, from what I've been able to tell, is 100% transparent on social media. Whether there are certain things that people choose to keep, hidden for anonymity, for their job or for, um, just because it's an opinion that they don't really want to discuss or argue about, or, they just don't feel like crying online, or whatever the case is, where there's things that people choose to omit from sharing out loud and publicly by way of social media. There's things that people are not sharing with you. And I just want you, as a person that could be more apt and prone to feeling like you are not doing too well in life just because you're seeing other people live their life. Well, you have to take into consideration, one, maybe they're working hard. Two, maybe they actually do, get unplugged from social media and live, and you may spend an excessive amount of time online. Four, they may not be telling you everything because there are things that people do that are, um, that they go through that may not be something that they wish to share. Or five, you have a life that other people may be looking at and wishing and wanting the same from you. So I just feel that, when it comes to things like social media, being on there too much and too long is kind of an issue as to why you may feel like you have to compare yourself to others or getting too caught up in other people's accomplishments or achievements that you lose sight of what you're trying to do. It's kind of hard, really, to have your own opinions in social media. Once you spend enough time on there, just because the way that everything is a very subliminal. Um, in life, we receive a lot of subliminal messages that we, at some point, decide to believe are our own original thoughts, but the truth of the matter is a lot of it is not. So when we're on social media, when things start to trend and when things start to have like this group think mentality, we have situations where your mind and your perceptions become altered because you're looking into a portal and dimension where these things are reflected differently. And there are some positive things that I see on social media that can really help you with your thought process or educate you on certain things. But I feel like with everything, there's a level of excessive tendencies that can come from it. I just encourage you to unplug. I encourage you to turn your phone off. I encourage you to put your phone on Do Not Disturb. I encourage you to, take a walk. I encourage you to leave your phone sometimes. I'm going to sneeze. No, I'm not. But I do encourage you to really be present and in the moment with what you're doing, whether that be your spiritual work, whether that be your regular everyday work. Like even for me, like I meditate on multiple occasions throughout the day, whether that is just me washing dishes or me taking a shower or me cleaning up my house. Like I'm focusing on that specific thing. I'm doing that thing. I'm making myself present for that moment where I notice what's happening around me and I feel the warmth of the water when I'm washing my dishes and I see the soap bubble and lather around the plate that I'm washing and I inspect it to make sure that I got all the food residue off of it and that it is clean and I fit it into the dish rack and line it up with the other plates that I have washed and that I'm going to continue to wash. And I hold the fork and I clean the prongs and I get in between each prong and I make sure that it is clean and that it is shiny. And then from there, after I'm done with all of that, I'm washing and wiping down the sink and the counters, and sweeping the floor and taking the trash out. And I'm present and in the moment with what I'm doing. I feel like a lot of times we're on autopilot. And I've noticed that for me, I prefer not to be that way. I prefer to be in the moment. I prefer to be present. I also have come to the realization of myself that, yes, I procrastinate quite a bit on certain things. And I realize when I force myself to do something and I really am not present or in the moment, and when I am really not attached to what it is that I'm doing, the essence of me when I'm doing that task is like removed, to where you can tell a very clear cut difference that when I make something or when I do something and when I was in the moment, when I was present versus when I was on autopilot. And I'm able to tell the difference in myself as a person, in my actions, in the things that I do, like from cooking to making coffee to, even just getting ready for the day. I'm a completely different woman when I am in the moment, when I'm present, versus when I am just running on fumes, on autopilot. And the fact that I can tell that so differently, which most people would think is an obvious thing to notice, the fact that I can tell it so vividly and clearly, it forces me to want to be more present and in the moment with what it is that I'm doing and to not do things when I'm not in the moment. Because I know the quality of my work when I'm on autopilot is not nearly as soulfully enriched as it would be if I was. And so I noticed that with food. I noticed that with sex. I noticed that when I am showering. Not to say that if I shower on autopilot, I'm going to be out here missing spots, but the enrichment, the fulfillment, the greatness that I feel when I take the time to really be in the moment with the water running down my body and exfoliating and taking the time to analyze my skin and get to be in touch with myself in very intimate space, and I share my thoughts with myself, and I wash all my worries and my insecurities and my doubts away and my problems down the drain, versus when I'm rushing to get out of the house and I'm just trying to get my body clean. It's a big difference. It's a difference. And I am noticing these things about myself. And it's one thing where you can kind of tell, and it's something that you innately kind of know, or something that you would just deduce on your own, logically speaking. And it's another when you literally experience that level of enlightenment and awakening for your own self. And like I said, Pluto had been in my 12th house, the house of my subconscious, of our subconscious, the collective unconscious, where you are noticing and you're transforming your subconscious mind, you know. Because when I talk about Pluto in my next part two, it will talk about how it going direct will help you to now navigate and make those moves because you were aware of it being in retrograde. And now that it is direct, it is not anywhere out of my mind to do anything other than now to realize myself on a deeper level and how I operate to the core of me, to where I can navigate through this life on a much more powerful and divine manner, because I see myself on such a microscopic and macroscopic level, like both to the cellular level, to the anatomical level, but to also as great and as vast as the universal level of me. I now understand all the layers and depths of who I am even further and even more because of that retrograde. And with Pluto getting ready to hit my sun 3 times this year, coming up in 2019, who I am as a woman, who I am as a being, who I am as you know it is going to change. And life is going to force me to change. And I'm happy that it hit my subconscious first, because now I am aware. So now when I see myself start to evolve and when I see myself start to change and become anew, I will not fear it, because I've already felt the effects of it from the outside, from the outskirts. And now when it gets closer and closer and closer to really being me and hitting me right over the head, knocking me out, killing me, so that way I can be reborn again in the same body, but elevated with a higher level of consciousness and a more bionic sense of strength. I know that the woman that I will be moving forward is going to be so much stronger, so much more powerful, because I'm integrating my subconscious with my consciousness, taking that autopilot out of my life and removing all this excess baggage and sludge and realizing how the world is under a very large spell from the words we speak, the language that we speak, the borders that we have these imaginary borders that we have in this world, and just the way that we as people are, as Black people are being told that, you know, Africa, our native land is this place that we should fear, that we should hate, our cultural, our indigenous, our 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 ancestral lineage, the way that our people live back at home, are we're told that they're poor, and we're told that they live horrible lives. Not to say that there's in poverty, but why is there poverty in Africa? And not to say that there aren't third world countries in Africa, but are third world countries really bad? Or are we just extremely materialistic because we were living in a capitalist society that tells us that having material gains in life means that you're happy? But do we look at the family structures? Do we look at how distant we are from each other? Do we look at how separated we are from life and see that we are not anything more than people with expensive things, but just living, just existing, not even really enjoying or experiencing life? That we run on autopilot just to say that we have certain things, to say that we live a better life than people who may live a more humble life and may not have as much, or may not have even been exposed to such greed, but may have a great family structure, may have an amazing relationship with both parents and their siblings, and the people who live with them in their country and in their village and in their tribe. I just think it's mighty arrogant of us to think that. But then on the flip side, the images that we as Black Americans are shown as around the world are just primates, people who are animalistic, that don't have any type of culture, any type of identity, any type of human trait. That we're dehumanized to a degree that, you know, even our own people in Africa who see us in America don't even respect us, see us as lazy, see us as nothing. When we descend from the people who created this country, to when we descend from the people who built this country, when we descend from the people who brought the wealth to this country. When I think about that, when I think about how the world, how America has played not only Blacks in America, but continental Africans against each other, to where we fear each other, to where we hate each other, to where we don't see unity within each other. Why? Think about that. Really think about that. Think about the fact that the Western Hemisphere has us under a large spell. And then on top of that, social media keeps us distracted, it keeps us busy, it keeps our minds on something completely else other than really living and really making the changes. I encourage you that if you meet people online, and that if you meet people, you know, on social media and such, whether that's a friend that you have made, or a person that you feel that you love, or people who share views like you or people who are into the same cause as you. I encourage y'all to start meeting up in real life and getting to know each other in real life, and not the persona that y'all show, not the avatar that y'all show, not this falsehood of who you are, but who you, not the falsehood of who you want to be, but the reality of who you are, and make who you really are who you want to be. Make that your reality, because you have the power to make that. We were given life with free will. Like, the difference between a human and other life forms on earth is that we have free will. We have a higher level of consciousness to where we have thought, and we have the ability to act out our thoughts, and we have opposable thumbs, and we created money. We created every single thing. We are the ones who made things that we need on a basic level excessive, like gluttony when it comes to food, or these elaborate houses that you could never have enough. There's never going to be too many people in that house because it's just over the top, just for no reason, or these clothes that cost thousands and thousands of dollars when you don't need that much. We did that. We created this. We did that to ourselves. We did not have to have those things, but that is a part of life. That is a part of us now. And a lot of us, crazy enough, will never ever give up these luxuries in life. We would never be willing to have a humble, more emotionally and spiritually fulfilling lifestyle, because we would never want to let go of these things that we have in life that we've accrued, whether that be by way of hard work or by inheritance or luck. We don't want to let that go. Like, the crazy thing about poverty in America, or just this idea that this white supremacist belief that we still have internalized, is that this idea of scarcity, and this idea of hoarding, and this idea of taking all for yourself, for you to have way more than enough, for you to keep everything beyond. And if you do have an abundance, to hold that over everyone's head and profit off of the needs of others. So I've been spending a lot of time in my head, as you can see. I've been spending a lot of time in my own mind, and I've been exhausted. I've been through a lot. I've gone through a lot as a Black woman. I've realized a lot of things, and I've come to understand a lot about myself over the last month, 2 months, 3 months. And I get it. I've not been spending a lot of time on my YouTube channel. And it's not to say that it's not something that I care about, but when it comes to me growing and evolving and being in my own cocoon of growth, of spiritual growth, I'm not going to disturb that process to make y'all some damn videos. Because the things that I'm going to bring you when I come out of this cocoon, when I get that level of enlightenment and I am able to spread my wings and come and land on the petals of your roses in your garden for you to observe and see and become enlightened by me, let me do that. Let me have that process. But I just want you to know, like, there's certain things that when it comes to social media, you have to be mindful that you're stepping out of your own consciousness, or you're stepping out of your body, really. You're stepping out of your reality and going into a virtual one. You're going into a different realm. You're going into a matrix. You're voluntarily going into a matrix for you to be flooded with everybody else's thoughts, opinions, agendas, where you are being sold things, where you are being advertised things, where you are being, flocked into a very large space with other people for it to either be an argument, for it to be, you know, shit posting or whatever it is that y'all do online. For y'all to be having your thoughts and opinions and your data collected for other companies to use to sell and market to you, or for you to, you know, distract yourself so much that you don't really accomplish the things that you really set out to do. Because how easy is it to get caught up into the rabbit hole of YouTube, or get caught up with scrolling and talking and having conversations on social media all day long, and to pick up your phone so many times throughout the day and to let that be the first thing you do when you wake up. Anyway, I just wanted you to have that food for thought, and let me know what you think in the comments below if you watch this video. Bye.